Good morning from Oklahoma. I'm Dave Deken with a look at what's happening in agriculture and rural life in our great state in this episode of Red Dirt and Round Bales. You know, a turkey can fool you. You see a big tom strutting around out in a pasture, bronze feathers catching the morning sun, and you think, well, there he is. That's the story. But that's not the whole story. The real story might be down in the grass, about the size of your thumb, trying to keep up with its mama. Through the dew, through the weeds, the insects, the shade, the heat, the danger, well, that's where the future of the turkey flock is decided. Not in the nest, not in hunting season, but those first few days after the eggs hatch, when the poult is tiny, hungry, vulnerable, and trying to survive in a world that's either built for it or stacked against it. The other day, Dr. Mark Turner, who is Oklahoma State University's Extension Wildlife Specialist, had a great conversation on what it takes to grow the turkey flock on your land while we were recording the Blazing, Grazing, and Other Wild Things podcast. Here's Dr. Turner.
A lot of what I think we've seen going on with turkeys, there's a lot of focus on nesting, and nesting does matter for sure. I mean, having better nesting cover for better nesting success is good. We have enough data, or at least to suggest that nest survival may have gone down a little bit, but it certainly hasn't taken a nosedive during the time period that we've seen turkey populations start to decline. But brood survival, on the other hand, is pretty dang low. And so I think there's a lot to be said about focusing management efforts on increasing survival of poults. Because again, you want to have nest hatch, but if all the poults die after the eggs hatch, then you're really not doing anything to help the population out at that point.
Now that's the hinge of the whole story. For years, folks have worried about turkey nests, and they should. No hatch, no poults. But Dr. Turner says the bigger problem may come right after the hatch. A hen can do her job. She can lay the eggs. She can sit tight through the rain, the heat, the snakes, the raccoons, and every nervous sound in the grass. But if the poults hatch into the wrong kind of country, too far from food, well, that's when the story can end before it really begins. A whole year's hope walking across the pasture on legs no bigger than matchsticks. A turkey poult does not need a lawn. It needs bugs. It needs cover overhead. It needs bare ground underneath. It needs plants tall enough to hide in, but not so thick that it can't walk through them. Dr. Turner talks about that knee-high to waist-high structure, cover for the young birds, but still open enough for the hen to raise her head and watch for trouble. That's good turkey country. Not perfect country, useful country.
Poults die from lots of things. They're very small, very vulnerable for about the first 2 weeks of life. They can't even roost in trees. So the poults and the hen actually are on the ground for that first 2 weeks of life. So very vulnerable for the poults, very vulnerable for the hen as well. During that time frame, a lot of mesocarnivore, mesomammalian predators, as well as avian predators are targeting and eating poults. But you also have issues with things like exposure. People don't think about necessarily. You get a bunch of rainfall and they get wet and they can't thermoregulate. That's certainly an issue. On the flip side of that, though, if we get some really hot days, it can be a real issue with having their ability to cool down. I've got a good colleague, Marcus Lashley at the University of Florida. He actually has a captive wild turkey research facility where they're printing poults to see the effects of different management on poult survival and poult growth rates and things like that. Because if we can get poults to grow faster and say they can fly up in the tree at 12 days or 11 days as opposed to 14 or 15 days, well, they're more likely to live. They grow incredibly fast. And that's why they need their diet during that first couple weeks, or really first month or two, is so heavy on insects, because they've got to have high protein to be able to support that growth rate.
2 weeks. That's about how long it takes before poults can fly up into a tree. Until then, they're sleeping on the ground. So the next time you hear a gobble roll across the creek bottom, remember, that sound started small. It started as a poult in the grass, hungry, fragile, following its mama through a world full of trouble. And somewhere along the way, the Oklahoma land either helped it live or it didn't. To learn more about increasing turkey habitat and bird numbers in Oklahoma, visit reddirtandroundbales.com. I'm Dave Deken, and we'll talk with you next time when we take another look at rural life and agriculture in Oklahoma on Red Dirt and Round Bales.